Well, what is going on, everyone? This is Brian, and you are listening to and watching, if you're on Facebook, Let's Talk Beer. And we have a guest tonight, and we're going to get right to it because we are talking about the first of many coming up of the Beer Advocate IPA Fests. And in terrible form, as per usual, I am drinking not something that has to do with the show because my fridge is bare, but I'm drinking the Boulevard Pale Ale, which is probably the second show in a row I've done it. It's because that's the only beer left in my fridge. And it's still good. So I know they're not going to be at the fest with their pale ale. Not going to be at the fest this time, but it's a good beer. And I apologize in advance for anyone that's like, man, you're about to talk about a IPA fest without a IPA. But listen, it's my show, and I'm going to run it. But I know Ben Watts, who's joining me as well, has something to contribute to this.
For sure. I am drinking a double IPA. In fact, I am drinking the Double Shush. Oh, there you are over there.
Ooh.
From Frost Brothers up in Heinsberg, Vermont.
Nice.
Every time somebody tells me about this brewery, I always think that they're talking about a Foley Brothers, and I am often corrected on that case.
Yeah, and I mean, do you get like a nice fresh like delivery of these beers? Because the past couple episodes you've been having beer, you've been one-upping me a lot.
I do. I have a couple of buddies who are some real. They're some can chasers.
Awesome. How's it tasting?
It's delightful, truly
amazing. And let's get right to the guests. So we have been, obviously we've done multiple podcasts about Beer Advocate festivals, pre-shows, post-shows, and you definitely have seen us at these festivals. And for the first time, even in all my podcasts, and we've had someone from BA on the show. Everyone welcome Brittany Burke from Beer Advocate. How's it going, Brittany?
Hey guys, how's it going? Doing well, doing very well.
Did you bring a IPA to one-up me and to join Ben?
I absolutely did. I brought an IPA. It's the Soft Machine New England IPA from Medusa. I actually picked this up at Medusa today. It's a really fantastic beer, super soft, super juicy. These guys are going to be at the fest, and I was talking to them today, and I don't have their beer list yet, but they said that they have solidified it, and it's going to be pretty outstanding. So they're making some, across the board, fantastic beers, but their IPAs are really top notch. So we're super excited to have them as one of our brewers.
That's awesome. And you brought up something that I would love to talk about really quick first before we get into Beer Advocate stuff, if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
The hazy IPA and pale ale category at the GABF. So this past weekend was GABF, and it was the first time the hazy beers kind of came out there. So we have the 3 categories. And did you guys take a look at the winners and losers of this one? Or no, they don't list the losers. Ever take a look at the winners?
Everybody else.
Well, yeah, I did. There wasn't much New England representation in that New England IPA category.
Yeah, there were a couple of losers, and by way of just being New England. But the category is not named New England style, which is good for New England. Otherwise, we would have had some issue. But category number 60, which is the juicy or hazy pale ale, out of 132 entries, the gold went to Voodoo by Tin Roof Brewing Company. So shout out to Baton Rouge there. And the silver went to Sippin' on Dank 2.0 from King's Brewing Company out of Rancho Cucamonga. Have you heard of any of these? I've definitely heard of Tin Roof, but I haven't had this beer particularly.
No, I haven't had any of the winners from GABF, but they're going on my list.
Yeah, and then so the highest, as we talked about before on our pre-GABF show, the highest entered category of the fest was the category 63, the juicy or hazy IPA category, and this is the one where everyone should have been vying for this one. They want to be the first to have this medal, and gold went to Alarmist Brewing out of Chicago, Illinois, with Le Juice. And that's going to be a good medal to put in their brewery to say they have the number 1 judged hazy IPA. So good for
first,
them.
Yeah, good for those guys.
And then I'll just real quick, the gold, the New England style double IPA from Black Market Brewing Company of Temecula, California, won the gold there. So big turnouts from California and Chicago of these top 3 categories, which is very interesting. So congrats on them. But now let's talk about the big fest. Beer Advocate, known for many different fests, and this is going to be a fest like no other. We're talking about the 2018 IPA Fest. obviously this is what the fans are screaming for, Brittany. So can you tell us how this idea started with the IPA Fest, and kind of just kind of how this event got started?
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, the fans have been screaming for it. The IPA has been a style that's just been getting more and more popular, more and more traction, and also has just becoming a much more diverse style as the years go on. You know, it started off with, you've got the English style IPA and the West Coast style IPA, and now all of a sudden you've got essentially like the whole beer rainbow of IPAs. And we have done some writing about that. We've been seeing that, you know, lots of action and lots of talk about that on our site. And we're thinking, you know, what better fest than something to celebrate such a diverse category of beer, and to really say, you know, throw aside your preconceived notions about what an IPA is and come check this out. There's going to be something here from everybody, from, you know, for everybody, from the IPAs that are so bitter they're going to, you know, strip the enamel off your teeth, to something that looks like it was poured out of an orange juice carton that's juicy, that's soft, that's, you know, also challenging sort of what you're going to expect from a beer. So we're super excited to really explore the style, to explore all the brewers who are really pushing the limits with this, you know, with this style of beer, and who are really putting their name on the map by brewing this style of beer. And yeah, sort of giving the people what they want.
Yeah, and I think. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Ben. You go.
No, I was just going to say something that you touched on that I think is important. Is that you're going to get like a couple different types of people there. The people who may only like a certain style of IPA, or may only be familiar with a certain style, and they're going to get to experience like what else it's about. And that's just, and then some, maybe just the people who think that it's, who are maybe just have a narrow idea of what it is. Maybe they don't, or they're kind of new to the game and only know that sort of hazy juicy, and they'll get to see like, you know, where IPA came from, and experience like the you know, the IPLs and the other stuff that sort of make up the whole category.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that'll be nice to get that kind of cross section of people there. Yeah.
And at first glance, I was kind of, at first thought of an IPA fest made me think a lot like the Extreme Beer Fests. And you kind of mentioned it yourself, is I thought, oh man, there's going to be these beers that strip the enamel off your teeth. You'll have 5 and you'll be done. But then I think back to the Extreme Beer Fests, where the theme of Extreme Beer Fest is extreme beer, but it doesn't have to be the 12% or whatever. It could be the weird, wacky beers that are brewed a certain way, or just beers that are kind of out of the ordinary, so they're not super palate wrecking. So it's definitely up to the brewers to be creative in this one, I'd imagine too, just to kind of draw folks to their booths to kind of try their creations.
Yeah, absolutely. And sort of similar to what we've started doing with EBF, where we've put challenges to the brewers to say, hey, we want you to bring an extreme beer, but we're also challenging you to bring an extreme beer that's, you know, 5% ABV or less. You know, we're really challenging these brewers to flex their creativity and show us really what the IPA is all about, you know, and we're also really hoping to add an educational component to this fest. We've got some things in the works right now that we're really excited about that we hope to be able to announce soon, but we're hoping that our attendees will really be able to see and interact with some of the key ingredients in an IPA, wink, wink, and see, you know, what it smells like before it ends up in the beer, and really get to sort of dive into what makes the IPA, you know, so special, and sort of what is the foundation of the beer.
Yeah.
And have you guys given the brewers the similar instructions for this fest? As in, you know, try to bring something out of the ordinary, or being kind of like the first year of doing it? Are you just leaving it up to them to kind of see what comes of it?
So right now, the only real framework we've had is it's welcome so long as it's an IPA. So, you know, you're not going to see any Pilsners, you're not going to see any stouts, but you might see, you know, a super sessionable IPA, you might see a black IPA, you might see a brewed IPA. And so we've also really sort of cultivated the list to see and pick brewers who aren't, you know, we don't want brewers who are just brewing one style of IPA. We wanted to make sure that we picked people who were challenging things and exploring the category.
And in brew IPAs, I've seen those as kind of like they're definitely up and coming now. I'm seeing a lot of breweries try it, and a lot of breweries nail it. And it's cool to see a new style of IPA that's new to the palate too. It's not just here's a different hop. It's a new style in itself, which is really cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, when you're curating the list for who's going to be there, what's sort of like the planning that goes into that? Do you have like is it like a wedding invitation where you just got like 200 that you want to come, but we got to narrow this down to 50 or however so many it should be?
Sort of, yeah. So Jason and Todd, they curate the list themselves. We go through, we look at, the brewers who've been around forever. So we've got like The Alchemist is coming, which we're super excited about. And then we look for some of the newer breweries. So Jason and Todd go through the list. They put that out there, and then it's by invite only. So we send out the invites, and then we do have some breweries who will reach out to us and say, hey, we're really excited about this. This is what we're doing. And so we'll take a look at them. We'll take a look at the beers that they're making. And we'll sometimes extend invites to those folks. And then for this fest and for some of our past fests, we've put calls out on our forums, on social media saying, who's brewing IPAs that you guys really like, that you want to see there. And then we've gone ahead and reached out to those guys. So for this fest, I know Bearded Iris is one of those ones that everybody kept talking about on the forums, everybody kept talking about on Facebook, and we reached out to them, and we're super excited that they're going to be joining us for the fest. So
cool.
We definitely look for input from the beer advocate community and try and see, who everybody's excited about.
You hear that, Hop Lover 1986? Your voice was heard, right? No.
I actually went into my profile today to see what my first post was on Beer Advocate, and it was arguing about someone's math regarding profit margins on a main beer company small release.
Jeez,
getting into it right back in 2012.
Yeah, there you go.
I should have used that as a background check for you to get on the show, but didn't. But no. So what I like about this fest, and obviously a lot of your fests try to pick a lot of breweries, not just from Massachusetts, but I do appreciate the nod to some of the breweries that I like that I don't get to see often at festivals that are from Mass. And I was just down to Building 8 in Northampton this past weekend, so it's cool to see them on the list. And then Vanished Valley, who I was at the Extreme Beer Fest this past one, and they had one of the longest lines from, and they're from Ludlow, Mass. So it's pretty cool that you guys bring them back too.
Yeah, Vanished Valley actually has a really fun story. We were first introduced to those guys by Jason and Todd's parents. We were out there. I think we went to Treehouse. We met them there. Then we went over to BT's Smokehouse, and they brought us a can of Vanished Valley, and they were like, "You guys got to try this."
Yes.
And it was phenomenal. They were big fans. Jason was like, "Yeah, this is really good," and so we were like, "Yeah, we've got to bring these guys in, bring them to the fests."
Yeah, it always warms my heart when beers that I taste is like, oh my god, finally people know where Ludlow is now. They don't have to ask where it is on a map anymore. It's awesome.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's talk about, before we get into the breweries. And again, if you're watching on Facebook, shout out to everyone watching us right now live. We're scrolling the list of all the breweries as well, so you can see as we talk about it, who's going to be there, and shout out kind of some of your favorites and if there's any beers we should try. But you're going to a new venue this year. That have you picked this venue for a beer fest before?
We have not. This is going to be our first time at the cruise port.
Okay.
So we're super excited about that. We, we've been doing festivals in Boston since like 2003, since the Art of Beer Festival, and so we started off in the Cyclorama, which is a fantastic venue. We were back there earlier this year for our Belgian Beer Festival. It is amazing. It's got some incredible character to it, but it is a smaller venue.
Yeah.
And for IPA Fest, we were like, we want something a little bit bigger, but the Seaport is a massive venue. And a fest like this, for the first year especially, we weren't going to go into something as large as the venue for EBF. So we were looking around at some of the mid-sized venues. The cruise port has just started to do events in the past couple of years. So we reached out to them. They were really excited about working with us, and they've done some similar events in the past. And we're going to be in their main terminal, which is it's going to be spread out over 3 floors, which we're also excited for because we think it's going to give us a great opportunity to help manage some of the lines.
That's really cool.
And help keep things from, we're going to be really intentional with our brewer placement to make sure that we don't have, or I should say that we avoid creating bottlenecks. We make sure we anticipate wherever lines are going to be as much as we can. And yeah, it's right on the water. So it's a gorgeous view of the city. A lot of purple via the Silver Line. There's a parking lot across the way.
Oh,
basically every Uber, Lyft, taxi driver in the city of Boston knows how to get there pretty easily. and it's centrally located by a lot of hotels. So I think it's going to offer the brewers and the attendees a lot of the same conveniences that they had with EBF, but in a little bit more of an intimate venue.
Yeah, I love the idea of spreading it out over multiple floors. I've been to one festival. I think it was one of the first festivals by the Shelton Brothers, where it was in a 2-floor space, and it just seemed like a nice layout. And it's obviously the grandioseness of the Seaport when all the breweries are laid out on one floor is a sight to see. But this sounds really cool, and for someone like me who hasn't been to the cruise port or had a reason to go, this is definitely sounds like a cool first crack at this place.
Yeah, I'm embarrassed to say, I've lived in Massachusetts my entire life. I've lived in Boston for about 14 years now, and I had never been inside that building. Yeah. And it's right there, and it's like, oh, I didn't know this was here. I didn't know this looked like this. This is very cool.
So, you mentioned about line anticipation. How what goes into kind of figuring out there for as far as brewer placement goes?
Yeah, so we when we've done things like EBF in the past, we've seen what breweries usually have the long lines, and we've seen what breweries have been getting a lot of press in the posts about the fest, the posts on Facebook, and just on the site in general. And so we try to make sure that we take that into consideration. And so we wouldn't put, two super popular breweries directly across from each other so that the lines are intersecting, or I should say, we do everything in our power to avoid doing that.
Yeah.
And so sometimes it happens every once in a while. You're like, oh, I had no idea that brewery X would have this crazy of a line, or like, oh, this is bizarre. I would have expected these guys to have a line around the block, and they've got maybe 4 people in front of their booth the whole fest.
Yeah.
So we try to be intentional. We try not to put anybody who we think is going to have a really long line, like too close to the bathrooms, too close to the food vendors, too close to other places where, it's just going to be congestion. It's going to be like people, having to swim upstream to get through those lines. So we do everything in our power to avoid that. Yeah. But every once in a while, you get a surprise or you miss something. But
I gotta imagine it's like constantly evolving too, as like the chatter starts to build up as you get closer to the date and everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Once the beer list comes out, and like all of us start to like spreadsheet what we're gonna do and print it out on a laminated sheet. Not that I know anyone that does that, but I mean, there's not a person there that would do it. But it's like that anticipation. But I think, and I'm jumping around a little bit, but you mentioned that thing, all the line control. You just started coming out. You started coming out with this thing called the VIP badge. Yes. That might help it'll make some people excited, and then it'll help kind of control that flow a little bit. Would you mind talking a little bit about the VIP badge? Is this the first time you're using it for this fest?
Yeah, this is our first time we've done a VIP badge, period. Okay. So folks have been asking for them, and we listened. And so we're excited to be trying it out for IPA Fest. We're letting people who have the VIP badge, there's only 50 VIP badges per session. So for IPA Fest, 100 people total got VIP badges, 50 for the day session, 50 for the evening. And so they get to skip the entry line, so they don't have to, wait in line that's, say 1,000 people deep or something like that. They can skip the entry line. We'll get them right in. They can check into the fest 30 minutes before doors, head on in. We're going to have a VIP lounge where people are going to be able to stash their stuff if they want to, hang out there. We're going to have some snacks in there. And then we're hoping to announce a couple of other really exciting perks for the VIPs. And we're going to, just keep building on it. We're also doing a VIP badge for EBF. So it's going to be something that's going to be a work in progress, but that we're really excited about and really looking forward to sort of curating that experience for the attendees and getting them a little bit extra at the fest. It's going to be a fantastic fest, even if you're not VIP. But we're looking forward to that.
I first heard this and I'm like, I'm expecting bottle service from Sam Caljoun with like, a 90-minute to the table and like, here you go, folks, and then just walking around.
I mean, like, I'm not saying that's not gonna happen.
Well, yeah, that might still happen, but yeah, that'd be one heck of a thing. Is like your table, sir and ma'am. Here you go. That'd be awesome.
Yeah,
but
it's a cool we're looking forward to rolling out some really, really exciting and really fun perks for the VIPs.
Yeah, and it's a good way to. I know a lot of fests have VIP hours and things like that, but I think it's a good way to. It seems like this is going to be going throughout the fest. as in you can go back to your VIP lounge during the fest and kind of, maybe de-stress, check your list, see what you've had and what you had with, kind of in a stress-free environment. Not that it's going to be stressful, but it's a nice way to kind of check back at the lounge and test that out.
Exactly. It's going to be a good sort of base for everybody to have, people who want to bring in their coats, want to bring in their bags. We don't always have the ability to set up a coat check at every venue. So you can, you'll be able to stash your stuff there. And then we, like I said, we're hoping to roll out some really fun perks. So you might see some cool people rolling on through the VIP lounge with some cool things.
Awesome. Very cool. Let's talk about the beer. So I know as of now we're looking at 51 brewers. Is that firm? Any more potential?
I would not be surprised if a couple others popped up on that list. We're hoping to get a few more, a little bit more diversity from perhaps people across the pond.
Right.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Again, nothing is set in stone, but we're talking to some people to see if we can make sure that certain areas of that style are really represented. So, and I wouldn't be surprised if a couple more breweries popped up on that list.
Very cool. Yes, because right now we're looking at 51 brewers, and the beer list. Obviously, at the time of this recording, we're a few months away, but the beer list isn't completely out yet because beer's still being brewed, and who knows if they know exactly what they're going to bring. But I'm sure you'll be releasing them, with enough time to plan as usual.
Absolutely. We're planning to put the call out to the brewers and asking them to get the beer lists in within the next couple of weeks. And so, a lot of breweries want to make sure that they're bringing the freshest possible beer, especially with a style like IPA. Nobody wants something that they brewed 8 months ago popping up on this fest unless it's, appropriate for the style.
Yeah.
But so we're going to be putting that call out. And then basically as soon as the lists get to us, we post them up on the site and, sort of get that out there so that people can get excited and start planning.
Nice. Ben, I'm going to put you on the spot. Instead of reading 51, because again, we have them scrolling here and they're going to be in the show notes. Are there any favorites you're seeing off the top of your head? I noticed I happened to put on this hat for New England Brewing Company, and they're for sure going to be there. I was very excited to have them at the Big E this weekend. They were pouring at the Connecticut in the Connecticut State House, so it's pretty cool that they're going to be there. But Ben, what do you think?
I haven't. I've driven by it a million times, and I just have not been able to get it or stop through. But I'm really looking forward to Beard from Stonington, Connecticut. They were one of the kind of like the first of the new wave breweries in Connecticut, and I've only heard good things about them. So that's one surely that I'm looking forward to. I'm an long time Lawson's guy, and I just remember all the people don't seem to remember that he did stuff other than Sip of Sunshine, and so I'm looking forward to seeing what he brings as well.
Yeah, and I think he's opened up his new tap room and brewery is opening up soon, if it hasn't already.
Oh, cool.
And as a beer podcast, we should be on top of that. But we're thinking about the fest right now. We can't think about anything else right now.
Yeah.
Brittany, are there anything that jump out to you? I mean, I know you're kind of like picking your favorite kid here, but are there any special shout outs you want to give to say, hey, maybe check these guys out if you haven't? Or
I mean, there are some fantastic breweries coming from New England for sure. And I'm really excited. Like you said, Building 8's going to be there. Those guys are making some really fantastic beers. Super excited to see what they're bringing, what Clown Shoes is gonna come through with. And then, I'm also really excited about some of these breweries that, truth be told, I hadn't really heard of until we put the call out and asked people, who are you excited about? Who are you looking forward to seeing? So as I mentioned, Bearded Iris, they're coming from Nashville, Tennessee. The folks from scrolling through Hot Butcher for the World out of Illinois. Super excited for those guys to be there.
Awesome name too.
Yeah, we've got two breweries coming out from Minnesota, Lublin Brewing as well as Modest Brewing, and those were two people. The guys from Lublin actually reached out to us. I think they got one of our emails about the fest, and they're like, "So we don't want to attend, but we'd love to pour." And
That's
so
awesome.
we checked out their beers and we're like, yeah, these are great fits. Narrow Gauge was another one out of Missouri that a lot of people were like, hey, you guys really need to check these guys out. And, I'm also super excited to see what Dogfish is going to bring. They've been a longtime partner with Beer Advocate. They've been sponsoring EBF for a good long while. They've joined us to sponsor IPA. And, Sam is kind of one of the pioneers of the IPA. He's really been pushing the style for a good long while. So I have a funny feeling that they're going to be showing up with some really fun things.
Yeah, definitely. Oh yeah, and you did mention it, that it is the fest is sponsored by obviously Beer Advocate, Dogfish Head, and the Brewer Association.
Yes, yeah. We're really excited to have partnered up with the Brewers Association as well. We, for all of our fests, really look for, we sort of exclusively invite brewers who are independently owned. And when the Brewers Association launched their Seek the Seal for the independent craft brewers, we're like, yeah, let's partner up, where our goals are really aligned in that regard. And we worked with them for the Belgian Beer Festival, and it was a pleasure, and we're excited to be doing it again.
Awesome. Let's see here. Is there anything going on with with Beer Advocate in general? I know you guys have just recently switched from it. Are you doing? It's quarterly now, correct?
Yep, it's quarterly.
So how has that officially begun?
It has. In fact, I have our second quarterly issue.
Whoa!
Right here. Look at that. That was just next to my computer.
Nice.
But yeah, it's our travel issue. It's for folks who are subscribers. You notice right away. It's got a much heftier feel to it. Our monthly publications are fantastic, but this really has some weight to it. It kind of like gravitates right toward your coffee table, like it's meant to be there. We're focusing on some much longer reads, and so
awesome.
We're really excited about this.
Very cool.
And yeah.
BM Watts, any final questions about the IPA Fest?
You said as far as VIP goes, you were saying 50. It's going to be a split of 50 for the first session and 50 for the second session?
Yep, that's correct.
Yeah, so that's not a lot, people. So you're going to want to get on this now.
The VIP is sold out.
VIP is already sold out.
Yeah.
We totally sold out VIP, and we actually have less than 100 tickets available for session 1.
Wow.
So that's we anticipate that will probably sell out this week. So if you want to get your day drinking on at the IPA Fest, I recommend getting on that very soon. And then the second session is also moving along very quickly. We're over 50% sold for that. So we anticipate this will be a sellout fest. So I do not recommend waiting to get your tickets.
Yeah, and it's good that it's bad for some that it's only 2 sessions, but hey, it's nice to have it in one day for you, the volunteers, the workers. That it's just good. You're in, you're out. One day is nice.
Yeah, I love that first session life. It's 3:30. You're on your way home or on your way to do something else or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. You can even be like, hey, tried a really great beer from this brewery that's just a 20-minute cab ride away.
Exactly.
Oh, very true. Anything else you want to mention about Beer Advocate or the fest itself, Brittany, before we let people go research the fest site and buy their tickets?
Yeah, this, like I said, this fest, it's the first time that we've done this concept, so we're really excited about that. We are first time in this venue, so also super excited about that. And the list of brewers is incredible. We're super excited that all of these folks are going to be joining us. We really do have people coming from kind of all over the place. And so we're excited to see what's going to happen with the styles. Where, who knows, we may even see, whatever's going to be the next New England IPA or the next brewed IPA come into this fest, and really just seeing how the brewers can work with the hops and make some magic happen.
Yeah, I definitely find that to be a good strategy for me when I go to this fest in December, is to check out the brutes, only because I've only had so few, and it'd be a nice education as here's how they should taste, or maybe this one tastes different, and kind of talk to the brewer as to why. And it's trying to learn new styles than just the hazy bombs for me. But I'm interested in the idea of all these breweries bringing different styles of IPA, and I'm excited about that.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, something that Beer Advocate really holds dear and is sort of core to our mission is that the people who are pouring your beers are the people who made your beers. The booths are staffed with brewery staff, so you're going to be able to talk to the people who really, they might have crafted the recipe, they might have brewed the beer, they might be pouring that beer in their tap room. So they've poured their heart and soul into what they're pouring for you, and so you'll really if you want to get the chance to geek out and talk to them about the different styles, about their brew process, specifically about, just about anything. And they really are, happy to chat with you.
Not to end on a down or anything, but are there any restrictions, like no stickers at this this venue, anything like that?
We do
get
have
this
a
out
pretty,
of the way. Yeah, I should get this out of the way
solid
first.
No sticker policy.
Yeah.
Just because, the downside is that stickers are just the gift that keeps on giving, and nobody wants to have to peel those off of a column or a floor or.
Yeah. And I always say, being like, someone's laughing at me, I'm like, wait, what? And I'm reaching behind me. You sons of, it was me. Because I was the sticker man that day, apparently.
Yeah. I mean, I've been that person who has decided to stick stickers on our sales guy's back. And, I think we got up to like 16 stickers before he was like, my shirt feels kind of funny. I don't know what's going on here. But yeah, we have a pretty strict no sticker policy. It's 2-ounce pours. That's Massachusetts state law. So, we recommend that everybody really monitor their consumption. We're going to have some really great food vendors at the fest as well. A longtime friend of Beer Advocate, Waffle Cabin, is going to be there.
Oh, the smell.
Yeah, if you've never been to one of our fests before, just prepare to get a waffle, because you can't smell it and be like, oh no, not today.
Right, it doesn't work like that.
Whoever says I'm not feeling waffles, though.
Yeah, exactly.
Not listeners of this show.
As like a sort of a funny aside, my wife works in the building next to the cyclorama. And so there was like a couple years ago where she texted me and she was like, hey, I'm going to come down. My staff has been smelling your waffles for 2 days. I need you to buy us like 8 waffles, please. I need you at the elevator. So the smell gets through the building for sure.
Yeah.
We're also going to have Roxy's Real Cheese is going to be there.
Nice.
When you've had a couple of samples, to get that sort of base layer of cheesy goodness is a must. And then our good friends over at Kale Pies are going to be joining us as well. And if you've never had a kale pie,
yep.
It's
you just brought something up real quick that any outside of the food, because a lot of these are so heavy, like we're talking about the enamel, any sort of like palate cleansers, like I'm sure there'll be like water stations and things like that to give a quick swish. Kind of thing.
Yeah, we'll have water all over there for people who've been coming to our fests for the past couple of years. We've worked with Water Monster. They provide these giant, I think they're 125-gallon coolers.
Nice.
They've got big flags on them. You can't miss them. It's drinking water. We fill them up in between sessions, and it's you can rinse your glass. You can take some sips of it. We recommend that everybody stay totally hydrated. We've been it's been important to us to do as much as we can to reduce our environmental footprint after these fests. So we stopped selling bottled water because they were just getting thrown out, and they, polluting the ocean and all of that. So we wanted to do everything we could to get away from that. And so the Water Monsters are a really great option to make sure that everybody stays hydrated. The water is free. And like I said, we'll have those all at the fest. So.
Yeah, and I have never seen a line at one of those. They're really well designed, and there's like 6 or 8 spigots on each one or something like that. So it's it's super convenient to just get in for a quick hydration session.
Sip. Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, this is the first annual IPA Fest, and you can find tickets at beeradvocate.com/IPA. Again, tickets are for sure are going to sell out, but then they're selling out quickly right now. So head over to beeradvocate.com/IPA. Follow Beer Advocate on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter for all the fun leading up to it, including the beer list that's going to be coming out shortly. Brittany, thank you so much for coming on, and we hope to see you pounding IPAs responsibly at the IPA Fest.
Absolutely, you guys. It was such a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, thanks.
It was
Ben.
our pleasure. Thank you.
And
Awesome.
and everyone watch on Facebook, give us a follow. It's on Let's Talk Beer, and tell a friend, because we talk about beer every week, and isn't that fun? Until next time, guys. Cheers, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers.